I'm a fixer for starters, and I feel like HR is a lot of fixing. You need people to come into this space and do things, and you need to have the environment that works in order for those people to thrive. You have to remember that you're dealing with people. So there has to be the empathy, there has to be the right communication. A lot of employers also tend to focus a lot on the qualifications. So they want people with degrees. Personally, I'm a TVET girl, and since I've been back, I've done a lot of work in the TVET space. So for me, TVET is the preferred mode of education. Most people who come out of the university also need practical experience. So there's no point in you going to university and just doing all these theories and then coming on the job and not really knowing how to apply what you have learned.
Skills versus degree. Where would you go with that?
Skills.
Why?
Because that's what we need in order for us to be able to push industry. It's skills, everyday skills.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.
Every founder I know has a people story that went wrong, either in a wrong hire or in a great employee that left, or having a team that just could not execute. And if you're probably here today, you're listening to this and you tell yourself already, maybe I have a talent problem. Yes, you may. And or maybe you may think that Sierra Leone, there's an issue with having the right talent in Sierra Leone. And you may be right. But my guest today has spent the last 20 years of her life proving that the most critical asset you would require to drive either in building a workforce or building a business, people issue is so critical that it could be a 10. Edleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome, Edleen Elba. Edleen Elba. The last time I had a sit down with you was it COVID? Was it post-COVID? You were doing something
post-COVID.
Post-COVID, you were doing something
Africa
for
Literacy Project.
Africa Literacy. So tell us again what was the thought behind that?
So the Africa Literacy Project, basically it came about with Transform Freetown. And we went there to strategize. And one of the things that was critical was literacy. So seeing as though it was in the skills development area, which is our area, we decided to take that on. And we found a company called Seled that did literacy courses on through WhatsApp, just little bites a day. So we did a pilot of 500 people, so 250 market women. I think it was 100 youth and, women as well, yes. Disabled people, yes, persons with disabilities. So it was 500 people. And we did that over a year and got a lot of learnings from it. And we're still hoping that one day we would be able to do proper projects with it because it works. That much I can tell you. Women started, especially the market women, because they were the ones that I interacted with. They started from zero. They didn't even know A. And by the end of it, they could actually spell things. They could read short sentences by themselves and with a coach. So if done properly, it definitely works.
So obviously the Elba, once you mentioned the Elba name, I know there are a lot of Elbas in Sierra Leone. A lot of Elbas in Sierra Leone. And one of who's the most popular Elba that you know?
In Sierra Leone?
In the world. Who's the most popular Elba?
The most popular Elba is Idris Elba.
It's Idris Elba.
And when I saw him last, he said to me, everybody keeps asking me if I know you. And I said, everyone asks if I'm related to you.
And I'm going to be asking you today, are you related to Idris Elba?
Yes, we are related.
It's interesting. Now, so let's come back to Edleen Elba. You've been involved in the space, in a space that actually, when I see you, when you talk about Edleen, the first thing that comes into people's mind about Edleen is HR. Mm-hmm. It's your involvement in developing people, mm-hmm. Developing talent in the country. How did you get to plotting that as a path for your life? Because that's not where you started from. That's the way you started off from. You know, you first of all said at age 5 you had told your dad, you had mentioned to your dad about wanting to be an accountant. I was older a bit when I said that. I had an uncle who was in Fobe College reading accounting, and I said I wanted to be an accountant. Well, I ended up reading accounting and becoming a chartered accountant. But then here you are talking about and dealing with people.
Yeah.
How did this come about?
So when I said I wanted to be an accountant, I didn't know what it meant. And because my dad grabbed onto it, he guided me in that direction. And so I studied management accounting. By the time I finished, I wasn't really into it anymore. But I knew I was going to use it for whatever it was that I needed to do, because it was basically equivalent to an MBA. It was the same kind of subjects that they did. And it was a lot of strategies. In fact, our last paper was basically putting it all together and you advising management on what to do. So I knew that whatever it was, I was going to use it anyway. When I did my membership, application, I had stopped working as an accountant. I was already in HR, and most of my experience that I put in was HR experience, and I still got my membership. So it just shows how versatile the management accounting is. But it started at KPMG. I mean, when I moved back, I always made a note that I wanted to bring more people into Sierra Leone.
And if you push back a little, you said it was Annie Walsh.
Yes, I went to the
IPAM,
yes.
TDA,
Fourth generation Annie Walsh.
Fourth generation Annie Walsh. You should say that. And then IPAM, you read TDA, Technician Diploma in Accounting.
Yes.
Then you left for the UK.
Then I left for the UK and went to do the CIMA. And by third stage of CIMA, because there was 4 stages, third stage, there was a subject, decision making. And I needed to be in an office. I needed to be in a business understanding what they were talking about.
Because you were just reading all theory.
Yes, I was 19 years old. And most of the people who were in my class had already done their degrees, were working, and were now doing...
And that's when it would actually really make sense.
Right.
It's, you know, you're not just talking about theory.
Exactly. So I put my studies on hold for a bit and just kept working while waiting for the war to end so I can come home. And I came home 6 months after, or thereabouts, after the first elections after the war. And I had to send my CV ahead. And my mom and my aunt went from accounting firm to accounting firm with my CV. And so when I came back, I interviewed with KPMG, which was my preference, really. And I got the job. But because I was CIMA, they mostly had audit people in. But then they had this relationship with Ghana, where they had the Sun Systems financial management software. And it was Ghanaians who were coming in to do that. So David was like, well, it would be good for us to have a person here.
David Kero.
Yes, David Kero, who was the managing partner at the time.
And you said he signed your appointment letter.
Yes, he
did. He did.
He
also signed. So David Kerry is our godfather.
Oh,
he
yes,
signed my appointment letter.
Yes, for sure.
And it's funny, even to the extent that, you know, my signature, I stole a bit of his own signature, the last bit. So I would sign like this, and so let me show you how. You see David Keru, the last bit of his, he would flip it like this. So I've told him already. So, but then so KPMG and then Ghana. Then you started this Sun Systems training.
Yeah. So I was supposed to go to Ghana for 3 months. It ended up being a year. And in fact, they had started talking about making me permanent staff. So I reached out to him and said, they're trying to steal me. So if you want me, you better bring me back. He was like, come back.
Okay, from Ghana.
Yes.
They said, come back.
He was like, come back. So I came back and I started supporting the clients. We didn't
implementing the Sun accounting systems.
Well, we couldn't implement because nobody was buying. It was so expensive. But,
at some point in time, I know Shell, there was an oil company, Shell, was one of the companies. At some point in time, Dele Jones, at some point in time where there's a couple of stuff I know they were trying to do.
Okay.
So people are not buying.
So it was them. Yeah, we had NACITs. We had some government projects, the Sababu project. There was this.
That were using it.
Yes, HIV project. Like those were the ones using it, like the big projects. But everyday organizations were not. But I was providing support. So a Millicom, whatever, at the time, it was like 2003, 4. So I would go in and just support them. I got bored. I started thinking again about when I came and how I really wanted to bring more people into Sierra Leone and, have...
And what was that about you? Because actually, I should have picked up on that when you said you were waiting for the war to end. I know people who've gone there, and again, it's nothing against them. We all have our own path in life. But I know people who've been to the UK and the US and places like that and would never dream of coming back. What was it about you and your path that made you want to come back? And you would say, I'm waiting for this war to end. I come back.
I never thought about staying anywhere else. Like the thought never.
And why do you think that was so?
I was just connected to here. It's this. I've always been connected to Sierra
Not
Leone.
parents not parents.
No. It was just Sierra Leone. So when I left here, I was supposed to leave for a year and a half. SEMA was supposed to be a year and a half, and then of course the war got worse. I wasn't going to come back in the middle of the war, so I had to wait for it to end. But the plan was always to come back. I never wanted to stay there. I didn't try to naturalize. I didn't try to do anything. I just was waiting. I wanted to come back.
And till day, you can't actually put a finger on why that is so. What is
it's just Sierra Leone. We're just connected. That's just it. Even when I went to Ghana and I was there for a year, I mean, I told you, I was just saying, get me back home. I want to come back home. Like, yeah. It's just Sierra Leone and I. That's us.
And then you came, you thought it was accounting, but no, it wasn't accounting. Now you have some systems experience, you're implementing, you're deploying. And then when did the HR journey begin?
So as I'm supporting and providing training, the days are not filling up. I'm just there helping out. They're doing interviews and I'm going in and sitting in. They have paperwork for people they're hiring and I'm asking, can I help? And, things like that. And then I realized these people don't have an HR function within there. So I thought, why don't I start one? And this was 2 years in. So I asked the managing partner, David, if I could start. And he said yes. So I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to learn this. I need to learn that. I need to do this. And he said, yeah, go ahead. And that was it.
From first principles, you had to start from scratch.
Yeah. But like I said, I'd already made a mental note to go into recruitment anyway because I wanted people to come home. So I started seeing people's CVs as I was posting the jobs, seeing people's CVs, and that was,
So let's go back to that because I think that's something that's almost, was going to fall through the cracks. You said when you came back, you worked with VSL. There was a VSL website.
Work with them.
Okay.
Bimbola is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
So we had the website already, and we had this chat area that we were all solving Sierra Leone's problems in. And
was it utopia?
It was.
Was it naive? How much of it was part naive and part what?
It was very naive, but there were a lot of realistic, conversations, very heated conversations, and but it was very interesting because it helped get to know the country as well. I mean, I left here at 17, came back at 24, didn't really know much beyond, my little bubble, what I knew. So it was good, seeing all of this and what have you. But what I knew also was that he had a lot of traffic, and there were a lot of jobs in the newspapers. So I got to I asked him to create a page for jobs. And so he created a page for jobs and I just started typing these jobs in and people would apply either through me or directly with the companies. And basically that's how it started. So that was already an interest anyway.
She started posting posting jobs, getting involved in trying to get people into Sierra Leone. And actually you said it was triggered from your mom taking, your CV around to people to try to get a job. So you came and got a job immediately when you came back?
So I was here within 2 months, yeah. Because I moved back in December. Of course, December is party season, so we partied till January. And then 3rd of March was when I started working.
And you said job search was already in your mind then?
So yes, it was in my mind. The moment I couldn't find a job online, I knew I wanted to solve that little problem. So that's that was that.
You started job search not at KPMG.
I was at KPMG when I started job search. So 2007, which was like 4 years after I moved back, that was when I actually started job search as a paid company. But we'd been posting the jobs on VSL for about a couple of years before that.
And there's a question that asked you that I'd like to be able to flip. There's something you said which I want us to explore, and then we can just drill back down into the places you worked, because you did 5 years in KPMG.
Yes.
Then 2 years in GTB.
A year and a half.
A year and a half in GTB.
Yes.
And banking, he says you would never want to do banking again.
Not for me.
Banking is not for you. No. A year and a half, and it was an HR position.
Yes.
And then you say NPA.
Yes, NPA I did 4.5 years. And
4.5 years.
Yes.
Okay.
It was the most challenging because of people.
Because of people. We're going to come back to that. Critical.
It was definitely the most challenging, but it was the one that I learned from the most. And
learned from in what sense?
It on the job. So for starters, it was the widest in terms of
it was beyond the HR.
The different areas of HR.
Okay.
It was the widest.
Okay.
They had a staff strength of 600, right? And they had your permanent people, your contract people, your casual people. Like it was it was a lot. And then of course it was dealing with people. It was public sector. So there was a lot going on, and it was the first time, that I was involved in a strike, twice. So there was a lot happening. There was a lot happening. And
you have some love story there's a love story between you and the public sector.
No, absolutely.
Which continues up to this day.
Absolutely.
We'll come back to that. So it was at NPA that you decided you were going to go full time on with job search.
Yes.
And then you set it up.
Yes.
How easy was it to set up job search?
So, we'd already been doing it for 5 years, but it was very informal. Even though, we had a few clients, a lot of recruitment work was coming our way. And for me, it was just my side gig. So being in the public sector as well, we used to get like 49 working days leave. And that's like 10, working weeks. And job search just paid for those holidays. I traveled 4 times a year, like I was having fun. So that's what job search did at the time.
Okay.
And then in 2012, when I sat there and thought to myself, I can't do this. Sierra Leone is not working because I'm in this public sector office, hearing too much, seeing too much. Now I'm getting involved in adult stuff. I'm not in my bubble anymore. And I'm like, maybe I should move to Ghana. And then I sat there and I thought to myself, actually, no. What I can do is do job search full time. And by then, I knew skills development was critical. So I was like, we're not just going to do the recruitment. We definitely need to start solving some of these skills problems because the CVs we were seeing were just not working out. And then I was like, well, if I'm doing it full time, I can't just do these two. I'm going to have to do everything HR so that at least, we can have a range of services that would bring in the money. So that was basically what it was. But that decision was made in 2012. And I gave myself up to 2014. So when we were doing the unbundling, and I was leading, the unbundling process
of EDSA,
of
NPA
into EDSA and
EGTC.
And basically, NPA ceased to exist on the 31st of December 2014. So as they were transitioning into those two companies, I was going into job search. So yeah, I had a lot of time to plan. And I tell you, doing my website was the thing that made me understand my business the best. I remember it was Vicky, Remo and I, and we sat down in Ghana at this restaurant. We sat outside and she had this questionnaire and she was asking me questions so she could do the website. But it was just so, so much about my business. and that I
That you hadn't thought about.
Yes. So I'm saying all these things, and it was like we were having a business development class. So for me, that was like the best thing that came out of that whole process. So it made me understand my business better. It made me understand what I was about to embark on. And yeah, we went full time in 2015.
Let's talk about People Wala. I mean, you know, and since then you've been involved in a lot of stuff. And as you just now, again, I can push you back now on camera. How much of the entrepreneurship process is intentional, and how much of that is just you stumble into it? And the reason I'm asking you, you know, okay, age 5, it was accounting. Then your dad drove you in the direction of, you know, SEMA, management accounting, and you came back and you thought you were coming into a management accounting job. Then it just happened that in the process of you not having much to do, you know, you thought there's a gap here in terms of HR, and then that's part of what I'm saying.
So what I would say is,
and I could track that back a lot of those ones. How much of this journey in life, if you see it now, is intentional, and how much of it is really you just stumble, opportunities show up, you align with those opportunities?
So what I would say is, by the time I was finishing my SEMA exams as a management accountant, I wasn't interested in management accounting anymore. I had taken a liking to HR. I finished my exams because I started them, right? I wasn't going to end up not being the one who was always part qualified SEMA. I had to finish. So I finished, but I had moved on from there, and I was, you know, very interested.
And what is it about HR? What is it about your personality? Is that, if you go deeper, is there anything about, you know, because there has to be some fulfillment, there has to be some connection there. What is it if you reflect?
So I'm a fixer, for starters. And I feel like HR is a lot of fixing. Okay? So for the most part, you're walking into a space that needs to be fixed. You need people to come into this space and do things, and you need to have the environment that works in order for those people to thrive. So there's a lot of doing in there, and it's interesting, and you're working with all kinds of people. Like, you're discovering how different people are, and it's fascinating. So a lot of people think, you know, when they say HR, you're supposed to be the person who speaks on behalf of the people. Like, no, you're in the middle, and you have to make the right decision for the organization. But you have to remember that you're dealing with people. So there has to be the empathy. There has to be the right communication. It's a lot. So
let's. So there's a big headache, like you said. You know, a typical traditional HR is you almost like you're the mother hen. You're the mother hen. You're protecting the staff. It's actually, and so whereas, and you know, there's this extent to which HR people do not have a business sense, and because they don't have business sense, you know what business sense? What is it that's going to cripple this company? That you can't protect the staff to the extent that, again, even, you know, there are lots of arguments. The number of days, the number of leave days we have in this country, the way the labor law is designed, where it's protective of the staff to the extent that it would cripple businesses. And that's part of all the mindset. So and so how do you
what I would say with regards to that is, a lot of the people who have gone into HR haven't gone in through studying HR. They've been thrown in, especially if like they're in admin, and then they would just say, oh, you go and sit in HR. The actual people who learned HR understand the business of the organization. They understand what they're supposed to do. I am a management accountant, so there's no way that I'm going to be thinking only people. I have to think people, and I have to think money. Now, the main problem with our labor laws is that the business people don't negotiate. They don't go into these meetings. The people who actually go into the meetings are the HR people, especially the HR people who are not business people. So those people go negotiating on behalf of employers, but they're really negotiating on behalf of employees. So almost everyone in the room is negotiating on behalf of employees. So of course the employees are going to do better.
What's faulty about leave days having 49? You said you have 49 leave days.
Yeah.
Give me an example of what will be faulty about that.
What would be faulty about
that? Yes.
Productivity. How is somebody going to be off work for 10 weeks a year? If that role is critical, you're going to have to replace that person. It costs. You have to pay leave pay if the person doesn't take those days. That's money. We have to pay leave allowances. That's money. First of all, don't get me started on all of
Let's go. This is what this is turning out to be, because you know what?
Because
actually,
if you ask me,
we need to bring in the business cap to this discussion in this country. Let's go. And you work with the Ministry of Labor a lot.
I work with them. Yes, I interact with them quite a lot.
But let's go.
When I talk about leave allowance, I always ask people, why do we pay leave allowance? Nobody seems to know. Like, why? What is it? It's just money we're giving away because you're being paid for being away. So why are we adding leave allowance to it? When I lived in
when you go on leave, you still
paid.
earn your salary.
Yes. So why are we adding an allowance on top? When I lived in the UK, I was hourly paid. So of course I was going to get a leave allowance because when I went on leave, I wasn't earning anything. So that holiday pay would cover those days. That's how it was structured. And that's how they left us. All of a sudden, we're being paid for going on leave, but we're also being paid just because. Pocket money for the leave. I don't know. That's one. End of service benefits. How are we supposed to have retention strategies when after 1 year, people can just take money and go? How? We're not able to retain our people.
And 49 days, just 49 days, 30 days, 50 days for every 5 years, every year. And
it adds up. It's a lot of money. And, for me, it's like if we had five years mandatory, I wouldn't mind. Honestly, if it was 5 years mandatory, you know that you've got your 5 years out of that person. And if they were to leave, then they wouldn't be eligible for it. But if you were the one who made them
triggered it,
yes, terminated them, then you would have to pay them, that kind of thing. I mean, we need to have these discussions, sit down and discuss how it's going to work, because right now it's crippling businesses. It really is. So I'm not your HR person who just sits there and says, the employee. No, you have to think about, otherwise the employees are not going to get pay rises. The employees are not going to get bonuses. They're not going to get anything because you're busy paying all of these things that are just too expensive, and you're probably not even able to afford them.
And I think what we're going to do is we could do a structured approach to this, so that it's not just one-sided, to say what we're missing as a nation with the kind of labor laws we have, what we're missing, what's going wrong, and how is that affecting, and maybe with data. Are you up for that?
No, absolutely. You know what? And this is something that we've discussed even at this point, 3 years down the road. We're already talking about reviewing the regulations, right? Because they're not really making sense. And I blame employers.
So in what direction is the review going to go?
So there's the end of service benefits, for starters, is something that we're going to have to sit down and discuss, because first of all, in there, the rates that they've used are not per completed year, right? So they're thinking it's a mistake. I'm like, it can't be a mistake, because now you've included, before it was just employees below supervisory level. Now it's everybody. If somebody is on a higher salary, it's making 0 sense for you to start putting them per completed year. I said, so we're going to have to sit down and go back to the drawing board and figure out what it was that you guys were trying to do with this and how it works. And, I'm actually quite annoyed with employers about this, because we pushed this through the Institute of Human Resources a lot for people to come and sit down and let's discuss it and let's make sure that our voices were heard. One colleague, Mariam, and I were the only people who went to Parliament in this whole process. Mariam was there for an hour. I sat there, argued with the Minister of Labour, the committee guy, the other Labour guy, what have you. But how much change are you going to make by yourself? You have
so that's why I said anyway. We could start this for something structured. My guest today on the show is Edleen Elba. She's been involved for the last 20 years, 20 years of her life. You say job search was first set up in
2007.
2007. So 2027, 2027 would be. So she's been pursuing this and pushing. You know how critical. You know, just dealing with how critical people are in this equation, and that's one dimension that we've been talking about. But let's jump onto how critical people are. Tell me how critical people are to, because you said just now, you said to me, all you've been involved in is working. It's dealing with people, either moving them to the employment line, making sure not just recruitment, but actually they train, and then, but also, you also been involved as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. So for starters, I feel like in terms of employment, you have to have the right people. If you don't have the right people, then things are not going to work the way you want them to work. And the right people don't necessarily mean the people who have the right knowledge or the qualifications for that role. You also need people who are loyal. You need people who are willing to learn, who you can trust, right? So even if somebody doesn't have the technical skills, these are things that they could probably learn moving forward. But if they have the right attitude, then they're the right people. And you can just train them for whatever role it is that you want them to take on. I mean, obviously, there would be the exceptional roles that non-technical people would not be able to do. But generally, I'm saying, if somebody has the basic, the attitude is much more important than that degree. Now, that's one side of things. Having the right environment, obviously, to suit the people that you want to attract is also very important. And this is one that I feel that a lot of employers miss. So what they do is, first of all, they hide the organization that is recruiting. Anybody worth their salt doesn't want to apply for a hidden organization. They want to know who they're applying to and what kind of organization they are before they apply. So when you start coming up with that kind of attitude as an employer, you're obviously looking for the dregs. A lot of employers also tend to focus a lot on the qualifications. So they want people with degrees. Personally, I'm a TVET girl. I've always been a TVET girl. Again, influence from my dad. So my dad did civil engineering and he went the TVET route. My management accounting started with a technician diploma in accounting. So that was the TVET route, and then I went professional. And since I've been back, I've done a lot of work in the TVET space. So for me, TVET is the preferred mode of education. And again, if, for example, you tell me that somebody wants...
But you don't want to close down the universities.
Of course I don't want to close
You modify what they do.
I don't want to close
but
down
you modify what they do.
Absolutely. I feel like at this point, most people who come out of the university also need practical experience. So there's no point in you going to university and just doing all these theories and then coming on the job and not really knowing how to apply what you have learned.
Skills versus degree. Where would you go with that?
Skills.
Why?
Because that's what we need in order for us to be able to push industry. It's skills, everyday skills. And you can first of all, with the way we're doing skills now, okay, you get out of school and you do 1 year of something, right? Or a module even of something. It's enough for you to find a job. And you can go into that job and you can continue studying. Now you're earning, so you're using that money to continue your studies. And you build till you go to, if you really want that degree, you can build all the way to your degree. Nothing's stopping you from doing that. So for me,
and the degree can be around a skill.
Yeah.
It can be around a skill, not necessarily reading.
Absolutely.
Just academic stuff.
Yeah, there's technical universities as well. So you can go all the way through. Or you can get your MBA, you can do whatever. I mean, the direction is just, So I don't understand why people just look down on TVET for starters. Okay? I kind of understand it because of the quality of TVET. But then again, I feel like the quality is bad because of the perception. So,
the quality is bad because of the perception.
Yes. So you still have people saying, oh, if somebody can't go to university, then they should go to, a technical college or something, because that's the mindset. So they don't necessarily feel like there should be investment in the, quality of TVET.
As I sit there, I'm talking to you. Sorry to interrupt. As I sit here, I'm talking to you. I'm laying out continuous trend of thoughts that we could tackle in a subsequent discussion with you, because today is like getting to know you. It's almost like just getting to know Edleen and push a little across several stuff. But I'd really love to go deeper with you on labor laws and how they're affecting the growth and whatever in this country.
Have our own show.
That's what I'm saying. No. At least just one, but really planned, structured, data. And everything, because you're saying in 2-3 years you'd want to say, what can we do to fix why what we're doing now is not sustainable, and what you could do to do that. And then the other one would be skills versus degree, and go deep. How universities in this country could go really a lot deeper into making sure nobody walks out of a university without having had a practical experience of what they're studying in university. Whichever way we do it, but it's that's when it becomes very valuable for us to have the level of education. But we're taking a break now. We're going for a commercial break. When we come back, a couple of stuff there are specific things I'd like to nail you around. Some of them are like biggest lessons you've learned, biggest regrets you have in your life. You don't want to miss that. Let's take this commercial break. Stay with us.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.
Most business owners then just they guess waiting at the problem where them business get. Some can say, well, na marketing problem, but in staff then say, no, na the sales, now we get problem with. And the partner then at the business say, no, na cash flow problem, now they get. Everybody they guess, nobody know waiting they do the business. That is why we built one simple tool at the Startup Body Shop. You answer a few questions and the system analyzes your business and it shows you exactly what's the problem. Not vibes, not guessing, real business diagnostics. Because if you treat the wrong problem, you're just wasting your time, you're wasting money, and you're wasting energy. This tool shows you exactly what's blocking your business, what to fix first, and where to focus on if you want to see results. So stop guessing, diagnose your business today. Check the link in the description.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.
Welcome back. You're watching the JB podcast, and my guest today on the show is Edleen Elba. There's this phone company. I just realized I was Edleen Elba, and but Edleen has been working in the HR, talent development, people building, space for almost 2 decades. Job search will be 2 decades, 20 years old next year in 2027. Let's talk about. You said just now that you've been involved, always involved. And I thought when I look at Edleen, you hear Edleen, you thought Edleen was in the people space, but I felt for some moments that no, Edleen is not. It's no longer there. But then you corrected me and you said, it's always down to people. You're either building people for the employment space or building people. When did you get to start thinking like an entrepreneur? Because you would consider yourself an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. When did you start thinking like an entrepreneur?
So I feel like probably when I went full time with job search, a lot changed. Job search was not the little handbag anymore that paid for the holidays. Job search was a business that was supposed to pay for my lifestyle completely. But then as I hired people, it was also supposed to pay employment costs. As I built an office, now we had
it was supposed to pay for the rent and all the overheads exactly. That comes to the office.
We had overheads and all of that. So of course you start thinking, like a business, and it's not no child's play anymore.
What would happen in government offices if we had budgets to balance? To say we're generating revenues, and it's the revenues we're using to manage, what we do. Is that what we do? It's people would always say, with those organizations, actually, government would always have money. They would always have money. It's not the situation where, like Edleen, I know you wake up every day, you go back to the office, there's revenue, there's expenditure, there's a cap to this, and you have to sell before you eat. You have to generate revenues, but with mainstream, civil service, there's always going to be money, no matter what happens.
I beg to differ. There's a lot of issues that require money that we know from the outside that are not being met. So there's civil servants will tell you there's not always money.
Right, we'll push that aside. But let's go. So you started thinking as an entrepreneur at that stage, in your job stage days.
Yeah.
Once you launched full time, this is serious, and you have to do that. But you said you have one regret, which is.
So I feel like I spent a lot of time building, making sacrifices instead of building wealth. And now I feel like I probably should have built the wealth, and now that I have the foundation, use the wealth from the companies and not. And
the foundation you're talking about is Elba Foundation.
So we have the Elba Foundation, which is again a people one, because it's responsible citizenship. So basically, now I feel like if the companies had built enough wealth, then they could support the foundation better. But we spent a lot of time and money doing, pro bono work over the years, which.
And you regret? You actually
to a point, because I feel like the impact hasn't really shown. So yes, the odd people will say, "Oh, I went through your program, I did this. I went through NIF, and this is what I got, and what have you." But as a country, I don't necessarily feel like the development, has been great.
I'll repeat what you said. You said you came with the concept, with the mindset when you came back from the UK. There's something you had. You said you thought that if enough of us sacrifice, development would come quickly, and then you'll be able to make money.
Absolutely. That's what I thought. But I was wrong, clearly, because 20 years down the line, look at us running to the diaspora to see how we can get money from them, because we still don't have money here.
What could you have done differently?
Focused more on providing services that pay, providing products, doing business in different areas, not necessarily just because, you know what, I've chosen an area that has a lot of heart. So as much as, yes, you can make money from HR and MSME development, if you're not getting project money, then it's difficult, because the large organizations are very few. The MSMEs...
And it's the large ones that could pay, actually
absolutely.
pay.
They're the ones who are paying.
Can afford to pay.
The MSMEs... So you're ending up chasing projects, which is one thing I haven't been able to do. Like sitting down, writing project proposals and all that.
And I had a guest on my last edition of the show, and I was asking, can MSMEs pay? Can they really pay? Are they able to pay? Can they afford to pay?
Not really. Not a lot of them. Not a lot. I mean, you have to understand that.
And if your business model is built around the assumption that they have to pay, then you will struggle.
You would definitely struggle. So you have to find something else to sell that they would see as, or people would see as an essential.
Give me an example.
Food.
So give me. So go deeper. Keep going.
So you have to do other businesses. You have to diversify. It can't just be, the heart business. It can't just be your passion. You have to sit there and think, what makes money?
Is it evil to do a heart business?
Not Not at all. But you end up where I am now, thinking I should have made money and then used the money now for art.
And you know, it's funny you're saying this, because I also have that bit in my story, and I think I've shared, with my closer team. Bill Gates makes money. He made a lot of money. Now he can do all the good he wants in his life, even to places where he would never visit. So I came back. I've been pushing this in my mind that if I had spent, there was a pastor side of me, there was a heart side of me that made me own businesses. I had a guy, Desmond, walked with me, and Desmond says, "This pastor business not a work. This not business. Not a pastor business you can't." But it actually affected my ability to very seriously build and run businesses that pays for themselves, businesses that grow for themselves, and so to the extent that, I would have a similar regret with you, something similar that you have, where I could have spent a lot more time sharpening the revenue generating side of what I was doing, because it gives me the flexibility to help more.
Absolutely.
And somebody says, when you don't have money, the only help you can give is with your physical presence. It's where you are. You have to be physically present before you could be able to help. Whereas if you have the money, like Bill Gates, all over the world, Bill Gates would never come to Sierra Leone, but you know how much of his resources is affecting what we're doing in Sierra Leone. Go.
So the unfortunate thing with that as well.
Go on the guilt part again.
The unfortunate thing with that as well is that even your time now is money. So at the point where I have reached now, I don't have the time to do one-on-one mentorships. I don't have the time for non-revenue generating things. Like, the revenue needs to be generated.
so it says, all the
it's an investment
for revenue, for future revenue.
Absolutely.
So again, I say that to young people. I say that to people all the time. I don't have the time now to meet with people. I can't. Maybe I've done my contribution. I've done my contribution in the last 3 decades.
Yes.
Actually, virtually do not have time.
Yeah.
So send me a WhatsApp message that I can listen to in 5 seconds, or 10 seconds, and I can give you my feedback and point you to somewhere where you could get it material. But I don't have. But that's a guilt that I share also. So we're in this pity party together. We're in this pity party together, and we're trying to just make sure we fix going forward to make sure. So young people, I see a lot of young people who want to, start up an NGO, a not-for-profit. I had a lot of them. And I think my message to young people, you're starting off a not-for-profit, I would say, learn a skill, master something that would pay for the not-for-profit activities.
So my problem with that is that I find that they want to do not-for-profits for the wrong reasons, a lot of them.
For the wrong reasons.
Yes. And it was the same thing where, when they did the research and they asked university students, where would you like to work? And government was first.
Government was first?
Yeah, absolutely. The government was first.
Did they say why?
And the NGOs were second. And why? Because that's where they saw the money. That's where the wealth is in their heads. But that's not where the wealth should be.
Where should the wealth be?
In the private sector. The private sector should create the wealth. But the private sector is poor. None of them. They don't want to be in the private sector. They want to be in government, and they want to be in the NGOs, because that's where the money flows.
And almost like I was saying, that's where you get easy money. Now, but you pushed back at me just now. You said, no, there's no money in government, because I'm serious, because it's almost like you get easy money there.
Individuals get money, which means the country doesn't get money.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, it's individuals. It's individuals. That's what I'm saying. It's individuals. The
government doesn't have money. It's individuals that are taking the money out.
So your big regret that you're still thinking is that you wish you had spent a lot more time monetizing what you had. You would have a lot of money to do the good that you still want to do now with your Elba Foundation. Because even as I reflect, even with the women that you had, this project, we met, post-COVID.
Yeah.
It was just those things. Layer after layer after layer. I've seen this. Now we're going to make a deal today. that we're moving forward and we're going to do something different. Let's take the next regret or next concern, big concern you've had in your journey. Tiny companies, very, very tiny companies. And you said, going this far alone, it's a regret you have.
No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, when I started, I had a partner, but it was mostly because we were friends and we just did everything together at the time. It wasn't like she was interested really in, growing a business. And I've always felt like I wish I had another me or two in the business. That, first of all, you don't always know everything. You don't always make the right decisions, and you need somebody else to push back. You need somebody to question you, and yes, sometimes you have that on the outside, but most people are just getting on with their own stuff, and you're not really, whatever. So you just go with it. So it would be good to have that, but then also the skills that I have. I tend to do a lot of the HR work within. If it's something that is meaty enough, then you can bring in consultants and you'll execute. Absolutely. But if it's something that, is just normal everyday work, then you tend to have to do it yourself. And as much as, yes, you're teaching the younger ones, the associates and senior associates to do the work, it's still not you, right? So you have to review things.
It wouldn't be at the quality that is required. You have to really.
You have to review things before they go out. So you tend to end up doing so much more than really you're earning. And it would have been nice to have another person who, one, would be vested enough in the business to bring more clients and then do the work as well to the same standard that you would.
Coming thus far by myself, all by myself alone. And you said you've actually talked to colleagues, people who flying into the country, they're relocating.
So in the early days, I did.
And you've had those discussions and said,
why don't you come and partner? And then we're like, oh, let me think about it, what have you. And then the next thing you hear, somebody's opened something, somebody's gone,
And I ask you the question, why do you think that is so? Because we're only going to be 100,000 small businesses who will be struggling to survive.
I feel like it's a control thing. It's an independence thing. People just feel like they're better off just making their own decisions by themselves and doing their own thing. They probably, if in their heads also, they probably think I have already set up job search in a way that it's me, and I might not listen if somebody wanted to change things. I might not on certain things, but then I might on others. So it's about having a conversation and seeing, where we meet.
How many Bill Gates would we have in the world?
How many
Bill Gates will we have in the world?
If what?
How many Bill Gates do we have?
How many Bill Gates do we have? Only one, no?
How many Elon Musk would you have?
We only have one. But
Jensen Huang. How many Jensen Huang would you have in NVIDIA? It's one. Now again, that's a point. I watched something the other day, and it's so important that we train ourselves to work together and build bigger businesses. And there's this bit about intrapreneur versus entrepreneur. And somebody was pushing something on social media where the richest man in Africa, forget about Dangote, you don't have one Dangote in Africa, but you would have 100,000 intrapreneurs who are millionaires in US dollars working in other people's businesses. Because we are myopic, our minds are so small. How many people would build the biggest businesses in the world? It's a few.
Yeah.
You would have maybe 1,000. You put them together, it's 1,000. But you would have 100,000, millions of other people who built fortunes working in those organizations that had already been built by this.
So the thing about the Bill Gateses and the Dangotes and the whoever, it doesn't have to get to that level.
I agree. I'm just blowing it up.
They're the extreme. And to be honest, I feel like in order to get to that point, you're going to probably have to do things that you don't want to do. You're going to have to sit down and start reviewing whether something is ethical or not, and justifying things.
So that's way to the extreme.
In order for you to get to that point.
But let's come back to
yeah.
everyday
But
Sierra
growing
Leoneans
something-
agreeing to come together
Yeah.
and build something bigger.
We're going to test it out soon enough. I have a new venture.
You call BIM. You say BIM.
Which is called Beam, yes. And
I have a partner for you in the US. I think I sent someone. He may have reached out to you. Somebody. There's a Sierra Leonean who developed some software and stuff.
okay, yes. So absolutely, we're already talking about this. We have an agreement that we're finishing.
I told him that you're the best person you should be talking to.
Right. So apparently, you and everyone else.
You should be talking to you. I said you should be talking to you.
So we're fleshing that out at the moment to see what that looks like. And so initially he was like, "Do you want to sell it?"
The model, yes. What model?
Yes, and I said no. I want to
be part of it, part owner of this.
So let's discuss what that would look like. So that's what we're doing at the moment.
That's the direction.
And that would be so. Elba is basically a holding company, and Elba owns the shares in the different companies. So again, that would be an Elba investment. That wouldn't be a Beam investment. But with Beam, what I'm trying
Elba does not own BIM.
Elba owns Beam.
Okay,
at
continue.
the moment, completely.
Okay.
But what Elba wants to do with Beam now is structure it so that other people can buy shares into this company. And not just buy. So some people have even agreed to work for shares. So that's what we're trying to structure at the moment. And that's the company for me that's going to be the big one. Because it's not, little tiny things. It's not hard work. It's not what have you.
Please don't denigrate hard work for me. The more you talk about hard work, the more I feel.
All the hard work has gone into the foundation.
Okay.
Like, none of
Let
my
it stay there. It will stay there. It will
none
stay
of my
there.
companies are doing pro bono anymore.
Wow. So you keep pushing that, Edleen. Let's wrap up for today. Like I said, there are two things I think we're going to be talking about going forward. The labor laws in Sierra Leone and how they need to be tweaked, and how we can do what we need to do to make sure it supports where we want to go. And you mentioned this point about young people wanting to work for the government, and it's not that it's evil to work for NGOs. They did a survey, NGOs, and go, why wouldn't a lot more people want to go into private sector to dig a bit about that, and skills, go deeper into skills versus degree, and how we can get our universities to go deeper in getting into just making sure, like we said, people can't walk out of university and haven't had a practical experience doing the things that they're going there for to study.
So my own focus would be more on how do we improve the quality of TVET. Universities, people can do what they want to do with universities. My energy,
that battle is too.
my energy is going into TVET. That's where I am.
And you wouldn't necessarily want to bring TVET into university education.
So if that's the direction, somebody else will do that.
We'll do that.
Yes, my focus is on how do we improve the quality of TVET, like what we need for industry, your skilled workers, those ones. Like,
how do you do so that you don't spread yourself too thin? What are you doing to make sure you don't spread yourself too thin?
So, people say, oh, you're doing a lot, you're spreading yourself thin, la 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 la. It's what keeps me going. It's what gives me hope.
Explain that.
So the more I do, the more involved I am, the more I feel like things are happening. And so you become optimistic that things are working. So it just keeps me going. If I'm not doing and I'm not involved, I'm not hearing, I'm not seeing, I'm not knowing, I'm not speaking to the young people, hearing what they're doing, knowing that people are building things and what have you, then I feel like the country isn't moving, because honestly, when you step out, it looks like we're not moving. But you have to be involved for you to realize that things are happening. So that's what keeps me going. And just dreaming, just the having all these ideas, being able to execute some of them, throwing some at other people, seeing what they're doing.
You have a project you're going to push at Loco Masama.
Yes, that's my baby at the moment. Yes, it's all connected. All connected.
That's what you say. That's what you're trying to convince me. That's what you're trying to convince me about, that they're all connected. And I'm still struggling to see how they're connected.
You will see. It is very connected.
So it's been wonderful talking to you, Edleen. Like I said, this is just an intro. You have Elba Group, and you said Elba Group. We would beat again. Elba Group is the holding company for everything that you're doing, including job search and all of those things. But I thank you for sitting with us today on the show. You've been, an inspiration to a lot of young girls. If they want to get to Edleen, how do they reach out to Edleen Job Search? How do people get to reach out to you?
To contact me directly.
No, website, online. I'm talking about online. I'm talking about online officially. How do they reach you?
No, so,
how do they reach you online?
We have the websites. We have elba-sl.com. We have jobsearchsl.com. We're on social media. We have a WhatsApp channel. It's all Elba Group, Elba. You see us on TikTok. We've started, doing little videos on TikTok, so we connect with them there as well. So we're all over. They can find us.
They are all over the place. You can find them. You can find.
Just don't expect me to respond to everything directly. That's all.
So it's been a pleasure talking to you. What a lovely story you've shared, and there's still some stuff bubbling in my head. How much of life is really intentional? We say this is life by design, but how much of it is intentional, and how much of it you actually stumble into? There's a deliberateness that you walk into life every day. You sleep and wake. You say, this is my path. And sometimes you have a sense of the path, the flight path, but where the direction, where you're going to go ultimately at the end of the day, you only know you're going east. But east where? Whether east ends up in Kenema or Kono. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the bearing, that you normally have. But it's a pleasure talking to you. And if you have any question, you push back on anything that Edleen has shared, please put them down in the comments. There are links that we have in the comments, whether it's to take your diagnostic tools, because for every business, and even the stuff that Edleen would have been talking about, there's only a few things that's holding back the growth of any business at any point in time. We call them constraints. At any point in time, there's one big constraint that is most responsible for your business not growing if you're stagnant. Edleen been talking about how do you bring one more person to join the team. One more Edleen, and maybe even 2 more or 3 more Edleen. But whatever it is, if you find out what that constraint is and you spend deliberately, intentionally sit down, break down over a 90-day period, there's no way you cannot deconstrain your business by just dealing with the constraint that you have identified. So, look in the comments and in the description. There's a diagnostic tool that you could take 15 minutes for your business. You identify what's the constraints you have in your business, and it's for free. And a startup body shop would work alongside you too if you need their help to be able to fix this. On behalf of our sponsors, AfriCell, AfriMoney, Sierra Tel, RSC Bank, and the startup body shop, and maybe also our host, our guest company today is Job Search and the Elba Group. It's been a pleasure having you joining us today. I close with my the only belief that matters. If you think you can, you can, because your behavior would follow your beliefs. If you think you can't, you won't, because your behavior will follow your beliefs. Until we meet back, keep designing, keep building, because we believe this is a life you can shape, and this is a life you can design. God bless.
This is the JB Show, and it's your life by design.